The 2024 Bank of America Roval 400 race was an absolute roller coaster ride for Hendricks Motorsports. Their emotions were all over the place, even after the race concluded. But in the end, the team owner, Hendrick, was absolutely furious as one of his cars had a misfortune after the race. Right after the race in Charlotte, Hendrick was out of this world as all four of his cars had qualified for the semi-final round of the playoffs. Bowman had done just enough to progress to the next round. This meant that 50% of the cars in the next round would be Hendricks Motorsports. However, after the race, the team got some bad news. Before we get to the bad news, let's give you some good news. You've just come across the best NASCAR news channel on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and we'll keep you updated on every bit of news that comes out of the world of NASCAR. Now, to the bad news. During the post-race checks by NASCAR, the governing body pointed out that the number 48 did not meet the minimum weight requirement. After this, NASCAR had no choice but to disqualify the car from the race. This pushed Bowman below the cutoff and promoted Joey Logano, who had originally been knocked out of the playoffs. So now the Penske driver will see himself in the semifinals next week. Naturally, Hendricks Motorsports will have the opportunity to appeal the decision. Regarding that, Hendrick's team stated, "We're working to understand the issue and will make a decision Monday about whether to submit an appeal," the statement said. First, the team will need to understand what went wrong and how much of an advantage it gave the car. While Hendricks Motorsports analyzes the situation, NASCAR's Brad Moran has already given an explanation. "Unfortunately, when we were running the number 48 through, it didn't pass the minimum weight specs," Moran said. "We pulled the car off to the side and we allowed them to fuel it, which they already did. We let them fuel it again. We let them run the pumps to make sure all the pickup boxes were full. We give the teams every opportunity to try to meet minimum weight. We also have them plug in the water and run the water through the system to make sure they're full of water, and then we rescale it. Still didn't meet the weight. We backed it off, and we run it across one more time, just to confirm the weights were accurate. Unfortunately, they did not meet the minimum weight. They're allowed 0.5% of a weight break, which is about 17 pounds, give or take. That's what they're allowed, and it was more than that." In NASCAR, the minimum weight requirement for a race car is a critical regulation designed to ensure competitive balance and safety. The specific weight varies depending on the series and model of the car, but generally, the minimum weight is between 3,200 and 3,400 pounds for NASCAR Cup Series cars. For example, as of recent regulations in the next-gen cars introduced in 2022, the minimum weight is typically 3,400 pounds, including the driver. The weight requirement is strictly enforced to ensure that no team gains an unfair advantage by using lighter cars, which could increase speed but compromise safety. The weight includes various factors. The base car without fluids, driver, or fuel is weighed to ensure it meets NASCAR's requirements. The driver's weight is considered as part of the total weight calculation, with allowances made for different driver weights to balance performance. Teams are allowed to use ballast, extra weight placed strategically in the car, to meet the minimum weight requirements. However, the ballast must be securely mounted and placed in approved areas to prevent safety issues. The distribution of weight is also regulated to maintain competitive fairness. NASCAR monitors the front and rear weight percentages to ensure cars are not overly skewed toward the front or rear bias, which could affect handling and performance on the track. Failure to meet the weight requirements can lead to significant penalties, including fines, point deductions, or disqualification from races. Thus, teams are meticulous in ensuring their cars comply with the weight standards while optimizing performance within the legal limits. Before the disqualification came through after the race in Charlotte, Hendrick was feeling cautiously optimistic about his drivers heading into the semifinals. "As the field gets down to 8, you've got a good shot at getting someone, hopefully more than one, in the final 4, Hendrick said. "Right now, I think we're running good enough to get, I won't say we're going to be lucky enough to get all 4 in the final 4. That would be an ideal thing if we could do that. But as long as we can show up and be good every week and hopefully have better luck than bad luck, then that's our job. Blake and Alex have gelled. Alex is healthy, he's confident," Hendrick said. "You can't drive one of these cars hurt. I mean, you can, but it takes 100% every lap. So I think Alex is just having an opportunity to be healed up, feeling good. He and Blake are clicking. I think that's been the secret there. I mean, I wish he hadn't gotten hurt. I think we would be way ahead. Now they're in a stride. He's doing a heck of a job. Every racetrack, he's doing a good job." But now Alex is no longer racing in the playoffs. Instead, Joey Logano will take his place. Even with Bowman out of the playoffs, Hendricks Motorsports still has the most drivers in the semifinals this year. Their direct competition will come from Joe Gibbs Racing, who has 2 drivers in the semifinals, Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. Both of these drivers are capable of winning the Cup Series title. The 2024 NASCAR Cup Series semifinals are set to be a highly competitive showdown, with the remaining 8 drivers representing some of the top teams in the sport. These drivers have battled through the intense rounds of the playoffs, and the stakes are even higher as they approach the round of 8, the final step before the Championship 4. The semifinals will consist of 3 races: Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Homestead Miami Speedway, and Martinsville Speedway. Each of these tracks offers different challenges for the drivers, which will test their versatility, speed, and consistency. Here's how things might play out for each. Larson has consistently been one of the fastest drivers at intermediate tracks like Las Vegas and Homestead. With his aggressive driving style and ability to run multiple lines, he could be a strong contender for a win in these rounds, especially at Homestead, where he excels in high-grip, high-speed conditions. Bell has shown he can be a force in both short track and intermediate races. Martinsville could be a key race for him, as his short track prowess has come through in clutch moments. If he stays consistent in the earlier races, he may find himself in position to advance to the Championship 4. Reddick's strong performance on high-speed intermediate tracks like Las Vegas and Homestead could give him an edge. His ability to run on the edge and find speed at the top groove is well suited for these tracks. He will need to capitalize on this strength early in the round to secure his spot in the Final 4. Byron has had a breakout season in 2024 with multiple wins and consistent top finishes. Las Vegas and Homestead are tracks where he has performed well, and with Hendrick's powerhouse engines, Byron could find himself winning one of these races to lock in his Championship 4 spot. Blaney is known for his ability to adapt to a variety of track types, and with Penske's strong setup at intermediate tracks, he will be a solid contender at Las Vegas and Homestead. Blaney's versatility will be his key strength, but he will need to avoid mistakes and maintain top finishes to advance. Hamlin, a veteran of the sport and one of the most experienced playoff drivers, is always dangerous in the playoffs. Martinsville is a track where he's historically strong, and he could very well punch his ticket to the championship with a victory there. His consistency and experience will be critical in the semifinals. Elliott has been a fan favorite and a solid performer throughout the season. While he hasn't had as dominant a year as previous seasons, he is a strong short-track driver, which could give him an advantage at Martinsville. Elliott will need strong runs at all 3 tracks to secure a Championship 4 spot, but he's capable of delivering under pressure. Logano is known for his tenacity and ability to rise to the occasion in the playoffs. He's a past champion and has the skill set to perform well on all 3 tracks. Martinsville is where he could be particularly dangerous, as he's had success there in the past. Logano's strategic mind and aggression could carry him through to Phoenix. Alex Bowman's disqualification for not meeting the minimum weight requirements opened up the competition even more. His absence from the semifinals means that one less Hendricks Motorsports driver is in the mix, slightly reducing their dominance but still leaving 3 of their drivers in contention. The pressure will be high for the remaining contenders, knowing that only 4 drivers will move on to the final race at Phoenix. The semifinals will be a mix of strategy, skill, and endurance. And with the unpredictability of NASCAR's playoff system, it's anyone's guess which 4 drivers will be racing for the championship at Phoenix. Who do you think will take the Cup Series title this year? Post your thoughts in the comment section below.